Time is a river that flows in only one direction. It drags us from the cradle to the grave, eroding our memories and our bodies along the way. We fight the current, we swim against it, but we always tire eventually. But what if you could step out of the river? What if you could pause the current, close your eyes for a second, and wake up 1,000 years downstream? This is the oldest dream of humanity: to cheat the clock, to sleep without aging, to bypass the long, boring centuries and open our eyes only when the future has arrived. We call it cryostasis. It is not immortality, and it is not death. It is a third state of existence, a suspended animation where the heartbeat stops, but the song of life remains paused on the tape. Nature figured this out long before us. In the deep forests of North America, the wood frog freezes solid every winter. Its heart stops beating, its blood stops flowing. It becomes a hard, icy stone. To any observer, it is dead. But when the spring sun touches its skin, the ice melts, the heart jump starts, and the frog hops away as if nothing happened. It survives because it floods its body with glucose, a natural antifreeze that protects its cells from bursting. We look at this miracle and ask, can we do the same? Can we turn the fragile human body into a durable object that can endure the long winter of space travel, or the long wait for a cure to a terminal disease? We are trying to learn the frog's secret. But humans are not frogs. We are warm-blooded, complex, and fragile. If you simply freeze a human, you kill them. Water expands when it freezes. It forms sharp, jagged crystals. Inside your body, these microscopic knives would puncture every cell membrane. You wouldn't wake up preserved. You would wake up destroyed on a molecular level. The cold is not the preserver. It is the enemy. To survive the deep sleep, we must defeat the ice. We need a way to reach temperatures of -196 degrees without forming a single crystal. We need a process called vitrification. We don't want to freeze you into a block of ice. We want to turn you into a block of glass, smooth, solid, and perfectly suspended in time. The procedure begins the moment the heart stops. A medical team must act within minutes. They connect the body to a perfusion machine. Slowly, they drain the blood. The warm, red river of life is removed and replaced by a cryoprotectant solution. It is a medical-grade antifreeze. It flows into the veins, the organs, and finally, the brain. As the temperature drops, this fluid does not crystallize. It thickens. It becomes like syrup, then like honey, and finally, like a solid pane of glass. The biological chaos of the body is locked in place. The molecules stop vibrating. Decay becomes impossible because chemistry itself requires motion, and here, all motion has ceased. You are now a statue made of organic glass. This state is called cryostasis. In this state, a minute is equal to a century. Without metabolism, there is no hunger, no aging, and no entropy. If we did this perfectly, you could stay in this state for 1,000,000 years and not age a single second. You have effectively stepped outside the universe's timeline. You are a traveler waiting at the station while the train of history rushes by. But what is the experience of the traveler? As the cold takes hold, the senses shut down one by one. First, the sense of touch fades into numbness. Then, the hearing becomes a distant hum. Finally, the vision narrows to a single point before fading into black. It is not painful. It is the ultimate surrender. A descent into a silence deeper than sleep. The last thing you see is the lid of the pod closing. The hiss of the seal is the last sound of the earth, you know. You are being sealed into a sarcophagus of technology. Unlike the pharaohs who were buried with their possessions, you are buried with nothing but your biology. You are leaving behind your house, your money, and your friends. It is a profound act of faith. You are trusting a machine to keep you cold. You are trusting a future society to wake you up. You are trusting that the power won't go out. You are a message in a bottle, cast into the dark ocean of time, hoping that someone on a distant shore will be kind enough to read it. Once vitrified, the body is lowered into a dewar, a giant vacuum-insulated thermos filled with liquid nitrogen. These facilities are the quietest places on Earth. Rows of steel cylinders standing like silent sentinels in the dark. Inside each one are people who are legally dead, but biologically retrievable. They are the patients waiting for the doctor of the future. There is no electricity needed to keep them cold. Liquid nitrogen naturally maintains the temperature. As long as the tank is topped up, they remain safe. They are suspended in the state of thermodynamic equilibrium. It is the closest thing to eternity that physics allows. A paused existence, protected by the laws of thermodynamics against the rot of the world. For the sleeper, the concept of waiting does not exist. Waiting requires consciousness. It requires the perception of duration. But here, the brain is glass. There are no neurons firing to comp the seconds. The gap between closing your eyes in 2026 and opening them in 3026 will feel instantaneous. One breath in, one breath out. 1,000 years passed in a blink. The subjective continuity is the true magic. You skip the boring parts of history. You skip the wars, the plagues, the dark ages. You fast forward to the climax. But there is a price. When you wake up, everyone you ever loved will be dust. The world will be alien. You will be an immigrant from the past, a relic of a forgotten age. Entering the pod is a form of suicide. You are killing your current life in exchange for a gamble on a future one. You have to say goodbye to the sun, the wind, and the taste of coffee. You have to make peace with the fact that the next time you breathe, the air might taste different. The language might be different. The human species itself might be different. It takes a specific kind of loneliness to make that choice, or a specific kind of hope. It is the ultimate explorer's spirit. The desire to see what lies beyond the horizon of our own mortality is so strong that we are willing to freeze our own blood just to get a glimpse of the next chapter. As the nitrogen fills the chamber, the cold penetrates the core. The final electrical impulses in the brain flicker and fade. The thoughts slow down. The memories settle into their frozen storage. The noise of identity quiets down. The anxiety, the ambition, the fear it all crystallizes into silence. The machine hums. The watch begins. Now the mind is no longer a stream of water. It is a glacier, massive, slow, and still. But deep inside the ice, something remains, a potential, a spark waiting for a fire. We have stopped the body, but what happens to the dreamer? When the brain goes offline, does the dream end or does it become something else? When the body hits minus 196 degrees, chemistry stops. But consciousness is not a light switch, it is a fading echo. As the temperature plummets, the electrical storms in the brain quiet down. The complex symphony of thoughts, worries, and songs gets simpler. It slows down to a single low hum. You are not dead yet. You are entering the twilight zone between being and nothingness. Scientists debate what happens in these final moments. Does the mind realize it is pausing? Or is it like falling asleep reading a book, where the sentence just trails off mid-word? The darkness that follows is not the darkness of night. It is the darkness of non-existence. It is a void where there is no self to observe the blackness. You simply cease to report to the present. But the brain is stubborn. Even as the synapses cool, it might try to make sense of the silence. In sensory deprivation tanks, the brain, starved of input, begins to hallucinate. It creates its own light. It creates its own sound. As you freeze, you might experience a final vivid burst of imagery. A prisoner's cinema of geometric lights and forgotten memories, playing on the back of your eyelids. This is the brain's last defense against the void. It fires its remaining energy in a desperate attempt to find a signal. You might see the face of a childhood friend. You might hear the sound of rain. These are the phantom signals of a shutting down system. A beautiful, chaotic fireworks display before the long, cold night settles in forever. Then, the concept of time dissolves. Time is a biological measurement. We measure it by heartbeats, by breaths, by the cycle of day and night. In the cryotank, there are no heartbeats, there is no sun. Without these metronomes, the subjective perception of duration collapses. A second and a millennium become indistinguishable. You are floating in a timeless singular point. This is the most terrifying and comforting aspect of the deep sleep. You are immune to boredom. You cannot be bored if you cannot process the passage of moments. You are locked in a perpetual now. It is a state of absolute patience. You are not waiting for the future. You have become a static object embedded in the fabric of space-time, skipping the queue of history. But what if the shutdown isn't perfect? What if a tiny spark of awareness remains trapped in the ice? This is the locked-in nightmare. A state where the body is frozen, but the mind is stuck in a loop. Imagine being conscious in a dark room for 1,000 years, unable to move, unable to scream, unable to sleep. Just pure, unadulterated existence in a void. We believe this is impossible. At liquid nitrogen temperatures, ions cannot move. Electricity cannot flow. Physics dictates that you must be unconscious. But consciousness is still a mystery. If it resides in the quantum state of microtubules, as some theories suggest, could it persist even when the chemistry stops? Are we trapping souls in a glass cage? Let us assume the physics holds true. The sleep is dreamless. It is a gap in the record. Like the time before you were born. You were not bored during the billions of years before your birth, and you will not be bored during the centuries of your freeze. It is a perfect anesthesia. The universe continues its noisy, violent drama outside, but you are excused from the stage. You are safe from the entropy that eats everything else. While your house crumbles, while your bank account disappears, while nations rise and fall, your cells remain pristine. You are the only thing in the world that is not changing. You are a biological constant in a variable universe. A perfectly preserved manuscript in a library that is slowly burning down. Your memories are crystallized. The smell of your mother's perfume, the pain of your first heartbreak, the password to your email. They are all locked in the synaptic connections, turned into physical structures. They are no longer active thoughts. They are archived data. You have become a hard drive. The you that exists now is potential, not kinetic. But data is vulnerable to corruption. Over centuries, background radiation, the cosmic rays that penetrate even the deepest bunkers, will slowly strike your frozen DNA. Like a book left in the sun, the text will fade. The memories might develop holes. 1,000 years of cosmic radiation might turn your identity into Swiss cheese. You might wake up with the hardware intact, but the software erased. Outside the tank, the seasons cycle. Winter turns to spring, summer turns to fall. Snow covers the facility, then melts. Forests grow around the building and die. The concrete cracks. The world is aging. You are the sleeping beauty in the tower, surrounded by a forest of horns made of time. But unlike the fairy tale, there is no guarantee of a prince. The caretakers of the facility grow old and retire. New staff arrives. They check your levels. They don't know you. To them, you are a serial number, a contract, a chore. The emotional connection you had with the living world is severed. You are dependent on the professional integrity of strangers who haven't even been born yet. In this silence, you are stripped of your ego. The self is constructed by its relationships to others. Without a society to reflect you, who are you? In the ice, you are not a doctor, a father, or a husband. You are just biological matter. The deep sleep is the ultimate ego death. It forces you to let go of every label you spent a lifetime building. It is a spiritual purification. You are shedding the weight of your persona. If you wake up, you will have to build a new self from scratch. You will be a blank slate with old memories, a ghost trying to inhabit a new world. The sleep prepares you for this rebirth by stripping away the illusion that you are the center of the universe. Why do we do it? Why do we choose the cold coffin? It is because the human spirit refuses to accept the end of the story. We are curious. We want to know how it ends. We want to see the flying cars, the cure for cancer, the colonization of Mars. The deep sleep is a ticket to the premiere of a movie we helped write, but won't be around to see. It is the ultimate act of optimism. To freeze yourself is to bet that the future will be better than the present. It is a vote of confidence in humanity. You are betting that we won't destroy ourselves. You are betting that we will solve the problem of death. You are entrusting your life to the mercy of a civilization that doesn't exist yet. And so, the centuries roll on. The silence in the tank is absolute. The mind is absent. The body is glass. You are a paused note in a long song. But while you sleep, the world outside does not stop. It changes. It breaks. It forgets. The facility that holds you is made of concrete and steel are not immortal. The greatest threat to the sleeper is not the cold, but the heat of entropy. Empires fall, economies crash, power grids fail. What happens when the lights go out? What happens when the nitrogen stops coming? In the next chapter, we will step outside the tank and watch the world age. We will watch the slow, relentless decay of the civilization you left behind. While you sleep in your glass coffin, the clock of the universe keeps ticking. Entropy is the one law that cannot be broken. It eats mountains, it eats cities, and it eats the building that protects you. The concrete walls of the Cryonics facility begin to crack. Moisture seeps in, steel rusts. The fortress you built to defy death is slowly surrendering to the rain. You bet your life on the stability of human civilization. You assumed that the electricity would always flow, that the liquid nitrogen trucks would always arrive on schedule. But history is a graveyard of empires. Rome fell, the Maya fell. If the economy collapses, if the supply chain breaks, you are no longer a patient. You are a melting ice sculpture in a power outage. The first thing to go is the money. You paid a fortune to be frozen, trusting a fund to manage your upkeep for centuries. But inflation is a slow fire. $1 million in 2026 might buy a loaf of bread in 2126. If the stock market crashes, or if the currency changes, your trust fund evaporates. Who pays the electric bill for a corpse when the money is gone? We have seen this happen. In the early days of cryonics, companies went bankrupt. The nitrogen deliveries stopped. The families were called to come and collect their thawing relatives. It is the nightmare scenario, to be evicted from immortality because of a bad investment strategy. The future is not just a medical challenge. It is an economic gamble. Then comes the social decay. A society struggling with resource wars, pandemics, or climate collapse will not prioritize the dead. To a starving population, a cryonics facility is a waste of energy. It is a warehouse of rich ghosts hoarding resources. We might see a future where the sleepers are resented. Why keep the ancestors cold when the living are freezing? The moral contract between generations is fragile. We care for our grandparents because we know them. But will your great-great-grandchildren care about a frozen stranger? Will they sacrifice their comfort to keep a nitrogen tank full? To them, you are not a person. You are an artifact, a burden, a primitive relic taking up valuable space. Even if the body survives, the data might not. We live in the digital dark age. Hard drives decay. File formats become obsolete. The medical records that explain how to revive you, the map of your neural connections, the story of who you were, all stored on fragile magnetic disks. If that data is lost, you become a locked book with no key. Imagine waking up in a body that has been healed, but your identity has been erased. Or worse, the instructions for the thawing process were on a corrupted server. The doctors of the future might look at your frozen form and have no idea how to reverse the process without killing you. Become an archaeological mystery, like a mummy whose name has been lost to the sand. Language itself is a living thing. It evolves. If you sleep for 1,000 years, you will wake up to a world of gibberish. English as we know it will be as dead as Latin. The sounds, the grammar, the idioms all gone. You will be deaf to the world and mute to its people. You will be the ultimate foreigner, stranded in time without a translator. Communication is the bridge between minds. Without it, the isolation of the tank continues even after you wake up. You will look into the eyes of the future humans and see no recognition. They might study you. They might pity you. But they will not understand you. You will be a specimen of the old world, a curiosity to be observed behind glass. Nature is patient. It waits for the maintenance bots to fail. Roots will break the foundation. Vines will choke the power lines. Animals will make nests in the generator room. There's a terrible beauty in this reclamation. The biosphere is taking back the land borrowed by the technosphere. The deep sleep becomes part of the fossil record. In some abandoned facilities, the tanks might remain sealed for a long time. They become monoliths in a forest, strange steel totems worshipped or feared by the tribes of the post-apocalyptic world. You become a myth, the sleeper in the ice, a legend of a time when men thought they could conquer death. Geological time is the final enemy. Rivers change course, glaciers advance, the sea level rises. The facility that was built on dry land might end up underwater, or buried under 50 feet of silt. The Earth swallows its surface features eventually. You wanted to pause time, but the planet keeps spinning, keeps burying, keeps recycling. If the facility is buried, you are truly lost. No one will know you are there. You will wait in the dark, perfectly preserved, while civilizations rise and fall above your head. You become a time capsule that no one remembers to open. A message in a bottle that sank to the bottom of the ocean. Even the stars betray you. If you sleep long enough, the constellations will drift. The North Star will no longer be north. The familiar map of the night sky will be scrambled. Waking up to a wrong sky is a primal horror. It signals that you are not just far from home, you are far from when. The universe you knew has moved on without you. This is the loneliness of the astronaut, amplified by eons. You are an exile from an era that is dust. Your favorite song, your country, your philosophy all vanished. You are the last survivor of a shipwreck that happened millennia ago. The survival you paid for might feel more like a punishment. But perhaps there is hope. Perhaps the caretakers are not human. If biological civilization falls, maybe the machines we built will keep the watch. An automated system powered by geothermal energy, blindly following its programming to protect the patients. Robots don't get bored. They don't steal funds. They don't forget. Imagine a facility tended by silent machines for 10,000 years. They repair the walls. They top up the nitrogen. They wait for a signal that never comes. They are the faithful guardians of the human legacy, protecting the frozen seeds of their creators long after the creators have gone extinct. A mechanical vigil in the darkness. But machines break too. Eventually, a seal fails. A sensor glitches. The temperature begins to rise. -190, -150, -50. The glass blood begins to soften. The molecules start to vibrate. The long winter is ending, not because of a cure, but because of a failure. The chemistry of life tries to restart in the dark. The brain, foggy and damaged by centuries of radiation, flickers with erratic electrical impulses. It is a chaotic, terrified awakening in a tomb. The sleeper is returning. But what is waiting for them outside the glass? The return journey is more dangerous than the departure. To wake the sleeper, we cannot simply turn off the fridge. If we warm the body too slowly, the glass will crack. If we warm it too fast, the cells will boil. It requires a process of uniform warming. We must use microwave resonance or ultrasonic pulses to heat every molecule in the body simultaneously, instantly reversing the vitrification. This is the thaw. It is a violent, precise shattering of the stillness. The honey-like fluid in the veins must turn back into liquid instantly. The molecules, locked in place for centuries, begin to vibrate again. The statue is forced to become a river. It is a shock to the system that mimics the trauma of being born. The silence is broken by the roar of chemistry restarting. But heat is not enough. The cryoprotectant that saved you is toxic at room temperature. It must be removed immediately. This is where the medicine of the future takes over. We envision swarms of nanobots, microscopic machines injected into the bloodstream. They act as artificial kidneys, scrubbing the toxic antifreeze from the cells and replacing it with synthetic blood. These machines also repair the damage. They stitch together the cracks in the cell membranes caused by the long sleep. They repair the DNA breaks caused by cosmic radiation. You are being rebuilt from the inside out, atom by atom, by a swarm of intelligent dust. You are not just being thawed. You are being terraformed back into a living organism. Then, the spark. An electric jolt is sent to the sinoatrial node of the heart. For the first time in 1,000 years, the muscle contracts. Thump, thump. The blood begins to move. The lungs, stiff and dry, are forced to expand by a ventilator. The first breath is sharp and cold, like inhaling broken glass. The nervous system lights up like a city grid coming back online after a blackout. This is reanimation shock. The brain is flooded with sensory data it hasn't felt in eons, pain, light, sound, gravity. It is overwhelming. The neurons fire erratically, trying to map a body that feels foreign. It is a cacophony of signals. You are gasping for air in a new century, drowning in the sudden violent reality of being alive again. The fog clears. You open your eyes. You expect to see the faces of your family or the doctors who put you under. But the room is wrong. The architecture is alien organic curves, glowing walls, silence. The air smells sterile, metallic, and efficient. There are no windows. You are in a recovery pod in a world that has moved on so far that it doesn't even build rooms like it used to. Panic sets in. The chronological dislocation. Your mind is still in 2026, worrying about your mortgage or the election. But your body is in 3026. The disconnect creates a vertigo of the soul. You are a ghost that has materialized in a spaceship. You check your hands. They are yours, but they look strange. Younger? Smoother? The scars are gone. A figure enters the room. Is it human? It walks on two legs, but its skin is perfect. Its movements fluid and precise. It might be a genetically modified descendant of humanity, or a compassionate android designed to care for primitives like you. It speaks, but the sounds are melodic, rapid, and incomprehensible. It offers you water. Thirst is the universal language. You drink. The water tastes the same. That simple sensation grounds you. H2O is the only thing that hasn't changed. You try to speak, to ask what year is it, but your vocal cords are atrophied. You croak out a sound from a dead language. The entity tilts its head, scanning you, analyzing your archaic dialect like a historian studying a stone tablet. They seem prepared for you. The entity activates a display. It doesn't use screens. The air itself forms images. It shows you pictures of your time. Old cars, old cities, the flag of your country. It is trying to calm you, to bridge the gap. It confirms that you are a relic. You are in a museum, and you are the exhibit. The kindness they show you is the kindness one shows to a confused, injured animal. You realize the disease that killed you is gone. The tumor, the failing heart, the infection, the nanobots scrubbed it all away. You are healthy. You have achieved the immortality you paid for, but the victory tastes like ash. You are alive, but you are alone. The survival instinct that drove you to the freezer is replaced by a crushing wave of grief. You look in a mirror. The face staring back is you, but refreshed. The gray hair is gone. The wrinkles are smoothed. You have been rebooted to your prime. But behind the eyes, there is a 1,000-year stare. You are a time refugee. You have no papers, no money, no skills relevant to this era. You are a caveman who just woke up in Times Square. This is the identity crisis of the reanimated. Are you still the same person? Or did the original you die on the table, and this is just a rebooted copy running on repaired hardware? The continuity of self feels broken. You are a biological anomaly, a discontinuity in the timeline. You don't belong here. The entity gestures to the door. You are cleared to leave the recovery unit. This is the moment you dreamed of when you signed the contract. The moment you would step out into the future. You imagined flying cars in utopia. But now, standing at the threshold, you feel terror. The door is not an exit. It is an airlock into an alien planet. What lies beyond the door? Is it a paradise where death has been conquered? Or is it a dystopia where you are property? Or perhaps something unrecognizable, a world run by algorithms and energy beings where biology is just a hobby? You take a breath of the recycled air. You stand up. You remember why you did this. Curiosity, the insatiable human, need to know what happens next. You paid with your life for a front row seat to the future. Now the curtain is rising. You cannot go back. The past is dust. The only way is forward. You push the door open. The light from the hallway floods in. It is brighter than you expected. The sounds of the new world drift in a hum of energy, a distant vibration. You step out of the tomb and into the light. The awakening is complete. Now the exploration begins. We have survived the freeze. We have survived the thaw. We have woken up in a body that shouldn't exist, in a time that isn't ours. We are the ultimate immigrants, crossing the border of time itself. But immigration is not just about arriving. It is about integration. In a mind from the 21st century function in the 31st. The door is open. The air rushing in feels charged, vibrating with a hum you can feel in your teeth. You are not just stepping into a new room. You are stepping onto a new planet that happens to be Earth. You take the step. The light swallows you whole. You step onto the balcony. The view stops your heart. You expected flying cars and chrome skyscrapers. You expected noise. But the city of the future is silent, and it is green. The buildings don't look built, they look grown. Massive, translucent spires rise like crystals from a forest canopy that covers the streets. It is a fusion of biology and technology. A garden city scaling the clouds. There are no roads, no engines. The air is startlingly clean, smelling of ozone and strange flowers. The chaotic mechanical roar of the 21st century is gone, replaced by a low, melodic hum that seems to come from the ground itself. It is beautiful, but it is alien. It looks less like New York and more like a coral reef made of glass and light. Below you, people move. But are they people? They are tall, slender, and move with a fluid grace that defies gravity. Their skin seems to shimmer. They don't walk in a hurry, they glide. You realize with a pang of horror that you are the ugliest thing in this world. Compared to them, you are rough, hairy, and primitive. A Neanderthal who stumbled into a cathedral. They don't speak. Thousands of them moving in harmony, but not a word is spoken. The air is silent. Have they lost the power of speech? Or have they transcended it? If they are connected via a neural network, their entire conversation is happening in the data sphere, invisible to you. You are deaf to the loudest conversation in history. You feel a profound sense of obsolescence. In your time, you were a modern human. Here, you are a biological antique. Your brain processes information at chemical speeds. There's process at light speed. You cannot work here. You cannot contribute. You are a curiosity, a living fossil that the state has revived out of historical interest. You are a pet. The loneliness hits you harder than the cold ever did. In the ice, you were alone with your dreams. Here, you are alone in a crowd. You scan the horizon for something familiar. A McDonald's sign, a gas station, a church, anything, but the slate has been wiped clean. Your culture has been eroded by time just as the mountains are eroded by rain. You see a vehicle approach. It is a sphere of transparent aluminum, floating without sound. There are no wheels, no exhaust. It defies the physics you learned in school. Arthur C. Clarke said, "Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. To your eyes, this is a world of wizards. You don't know how the lights work. You don't know how the food appears." You are a child again, helpless, dependent. You have to learn how to eat, how to move, how to interact. But unlike a child, you have the heavy, sad memories of a previous life. You remember the smell of gasoline and the sound of rain on a tin roof. These ghosts haunt you. You are walking through paradise, but you are mourning a graveyard. You try to find information, but there are no screens, no keyboards. The internet is no longer a place you visit. It is the air you breathe. The information is overlaid on reality, accessible only to those with the right implants. You stare at blank walls, unaware that they are flashing with news, art, and data for everyone else. You are illiterate in the library of gods. The entity that woke you returns. It smiles a perfect, practiced smile. It tries to communicate. It projects a hologram of a tree, then a hologram of a molecule. It is teaching you, like you would teach a chimpanzee sign language. It confirms your fear. The gap between you and them is not cultural. It is evolutionary. You wander the streets. The architecture responds to you. Walls shift to let you pass. Lights dim when you squint. The city is alive and it is babysitting you. It is a soft, padded cage. There is no crime, no poverty, no disease. It is the utopia we dreamed of. So why does it feel so cold? Why does it feel like a sterile waiting room? Because utopia has no struggle. And humans are built for struggle. We evolved to hunt, to build, to survive. In a world where every need is met instantly by machines, what is the purpose of a human? You see it in their eyes, the locals. A calm, eternal boredom. They have conquered death, but they seem to have lost the zest for life. You find a museum, a history of the Dark Ages. You see images of your time. Traffic jams, wars, pollution. They look at these images with horror and pity. They see your life as a dark, barbaric period of suffering. They don't understand that there was love in the chaos. They don't understand the beauty of the struggle. You want to scream at them. We built the foundation you stand on. We suffered so you could be perfect. But you stay silent. The museum plaque describes your generation as the transitionals, generation that broke the planet and then froze themselves to escape the consequences. History has not been kind to you. Night falls, the sky is wrong. New stars move in grid patterns, orbital habitats. The moon has a ring of lights around it. We colonized the solar system while you slept. You realize you can never go home, not because of space, but because of time. Home is a temporal coordinate. and you are drifting further away from it with every second. You realize the true cost of the deep sleep. You bought time, but you sold belonging. You are an astronaut who landed on the wrong planet. The nostalgia is a physical pain, a hollow ache in the chest. You would give up all this perfection for one messy, noisy, imperfect dinner with the people you lost. You find a flower growing in a crack of the crystal pavement, a dandelion. It looks exactly the same as it did 1,000 years ago. You touch it. It is real, biological, fragile. For a moment, you are grounded. Nature is the only bridge between the eras. The DNA of this weed is the only cousin you have left in this city. You sit beside it. You realize you have a choice. You can live here as a museum exhibit, a ghost haunting the future, or you can try to find a purpose in this alien world. The freezing was the easy part. The waking up is the hard part. The survival was biology. The living is philosophy. The entity approaches you again. It offers you something. A small, glowing device, an implant, a neural lace. It offers to connect you, to update your hardware, to cure your deafness, to let you hear the chorus of the city, to make you one of them. You look at the device. It is the key to the new world, but it is also the death of the old you. If you take it, the primitive human dies and a posthuman is born. You stand on the precipice of a second transformation. First from flesh to glass, now from human to something else. You look at the device, the promise of connection, the promise of silence, but you put it down. You realize that your loneliness is not a defect, it is a feature. It is the boundary that defines you. If you merge with the hive mind, you lose the unique perspective of the old human. You choose to remain broken. You choose to remain obsolete. You choose to remain you. The entity nods. There is no judgment, only a faint curiosity. By refusing the upgrade, you have accepted your role. You are not a citizen of this future, you are its memory. You are the designated mourner for a species that evolved away from its roots. You will walk among gods as a mortal, reminding them of the heat, the dirt, and the fear that birthed them. You find your purpose. You become the storyteller. The immortals gather around you not to hear about history, but to hear about feeling. They want to know what it feels like to fear death. They want to know what a heartbreak feels like. They treat your trauma as a rare, precious vintage wine. You trade your memories for bread. You keep the flame of the human era alive in a world of cold light. You tell them about the rush of a first kiss, the panic of a missed deadline, the grief of a funeral. These concepts are alien to them, yet they listen with a strange hunger. You realize that in gaining perfection, they lost intensity. Their lives are long and flat, yours was short and jagged. You have something they can never engineer: scarcity. But even this future is not eternal. You watch the centuries roll by again. This time, you are awake for it. You see the crystal towers crack. You see the posthumans evolve into forms of pure energy and leave the earth. You see the forests reclaim the silence. The deep sleep didn't stop time. It only delayed the inevitable. The law of entropy is absolute. Everything that is built must fall. The civilization that woke you eventually fades. Maybe they ascend to the stars. Maybe they die out. You are left alone again, a wanderer on a quiet, aging earth. The sun is redder now, larger. The shadows are longer. The planet is tired. You realize that the struggle against death was always a losing game. The house always wins. You walk through the ruins of the future. You visit the place where your cryo tank used to be. It is just dust now. You realize the irony. You froze yourself to see the end of the story. Well, here it is. It doesn't end with a bang or a triumph. It ends with a slow, peaceful exhale. The universe is winding down like a clockwork toy running out of spring. This is the heat death, the ultimate deep sleep. Eventually, every star will burn out. Every black hole will evaporate. The universe will become a cold, dark, empty room. And in that vast silence, nothing will suffer. Nothing will struggle. It is a terrifying thought, but also a comforting one. The noise finally stops. Standing at the end of time, you understand the value of the beginning. You understand that mortality was not a curse. It was the engine of meaning. A story is only a story because it has an ending. A song is beautiful because it resolves into silence. If life went on forever, it would be noise. Death is the frame that makes the picture visible. You spent your first life running from the Reaper. You spent your second life hiding in the ice. Now in the twilight of the world, you finally stop running. You accept that you are finite, and in that acceptance, the fear vanishes. You are just a temporary arrangement of stardust that got to wake up and look around for a brief, magical moment. You sit down on the red earth. You are tired. Not the tiredness of a long day, but the tiredness of a long existence. The nanobots in your blood are failing. The gift of youth is fading. The natural order is returning. You feel the cold creeping in again, but this time, there is no tank, no nitrogen. Just the evening breeze of a dying world. You close your eyes. You remember the face of your mother, the smell of rain in 2024, the taste of that first glass of water. The memories are vivid, brighter than the futuristic city ever was. You realize that the best part of the journey wasn't the destination. It was the people you traveled with. To the viewer watching this, you are still in the golden age. You are still in the era of warm suns and living forests. You are frustrated by your short life, by your aging body. But do not envy the sleeper. Do not envy the immortal. You have the most precious thing in the universe: urgency. Your time is valuable because it is limited. Your love is deep because it can be lost. Do not wish it away. Do not rush to the freezer. Drink the coffee. Kiss the lover. Walk in the rain. Feel the cold. It is a privilege to feel anything at all. The deep sleep is not a technology. It is our destiny. We all return to the void eventually. The atoms that make you will unravel and drift apart to become parts of new stars, new planets, new stories. You are not ending. You are just changing phase. From solid to liquid to light. The screen begins to fade. The breath slows. The heartbeat is a faint rhythm in the dark. The dream of the future is over. The reality of the now is all that remains, and it is enough. It was always enough. So close your eyes. Let the river take you. Do not be afraid of the dark. The dark is just the universe holding its breath. We are travelers who arrived a moment too early or a moment too late. But we were here. We witnessed it. We were the eyes of the cosmos,